I'm Harriet Lamb. I'm the CEO of Ashden, and we run the Ashden Awards. And I'm so thrilled to be chatting to you this morning, Kemtai. I'm joining you from the Sustainable Energy for All conference being held this year here in Kigali, in Rwanda. In fact, the president of Rwanda is speaking at this very moment, opening the conference, which really seeks to put the spotlight on the fact that still there are 570 million people across Africa who don't have access to reliable energy. And so everyone is coming together from across Africa, but across the world as well, to really think, what are the policies, the strategies, the financing we need to make sure that finally people across Africa in rural villages or in refugee camps do have access to clean, renewable energy. Energy is the key to the economy, and that's obviously the key to people having jobs and livelihoods. And I think what we see is not only are there direct jobs in, for example, distributed rural energy, really taking energy out into the rural areas, but for every job created directly in energy, that leads to another 5 jobs because people can run their businesses and people can start to do things. So that's how we've seen, for example, companies who get access to energy. They are then, I'll give you one example, Soko Fresh from Kenya, having access to energy, they've then been able to enable farmers to store their fresh produce. They pay as they go, so you don't have to have enough money to buy a fridge or a freezer, but you can pay to store your fresh produce, and therefore their incomes are raised, but so are the people running the storage facility. So that's just one of the many examples we see where access to energy can help open opportunities for jobs and livelihoods. But there is a snag. We also face a skills drought. Not enough people are trained in the skills we need to drive forward the renewable energy revolution that we want to see. And that's why we're also putting a spotlight on those institutions such as Strathmore University in Kenya, through to an amazing organization, Energy Generation in Togo, working to train people up, the new generation who can take forward renewable energy. Kenya is among the leaders within sub-Saharan Africa when it comes both to training, but also, of course, to having the right policies to support access to energy in rural areas. And also, for example, yesterday, there was a lot of praise for the government of Turkana, for example, their policies about also working with refugee populations and making sure that both refugees and the host population have access to the energy that they need. And that was where yesterday there was a kickoff part of the conference with a special focus on the needs of refugees. It's very shocking to say that actually 94% of refugees who live in camps don't have access to energy. I mean, that's shocking. And again, it's rising. So we've been really looking for those inspiring examples, such as the government of Turkana, such as the government of Uganda, who've had very progressive policies on working with refugees in the camps, with the host populations, to make sure that both are benefiting from having more access to energy. And again, that then helps drive jobs for the refugees in the host community, and that helps uplift the economy. And that's why it's so important that everyone comes together to think, what are the policies we need from international governments and donors, from national governments, from regional governments, all the way down to who are the entrepreneurs, who are those thriving businesses that we want to support. And what we're calling for is the focus on skills, that if we can start to work with young people, even in school, to make sure that young people, including in rural areas, that women in particular are also made aware of the opportunities that they can have in the green sector, that there are jobs out there if they can invest in the right subjects at school, going through to after school training, which might be going to a university and studying to become a engineer, but it might also be going into more informal training with an employer where you're learning skills around marketing or around running organizations. We see that really there is that need for the skilling up of the population so that they are ready to drive forward the green energy revolution. I mean, up till now, the whole of Africa has fewer people, half the numbers of people working in renewable energy that one country, Germany, has. So you do feel there is this opportunity out there. There could be jobs for people, but one of the things that needs putting in place is the skills and training. The other policy we're really calling for is for international donor community to put access to energy at the heart of the climate talks. We see so many people affected by climate change, and yet there are people who don't yet have any energy. So some people are spending far too much energy in countries, UK, where I come from, and we have to use less energy. But then some people, of course, don't even have access to any. And so what we've got to make sure is that in those climate talks, and this year in Egypt, COP27, the Africa COP as it's being called, the Africa climate talks, this is the most important chance to make sure that we're giving everybody access to electricity at the heart of climate talks. And we're really saying that means also putting in place the finance so that we can drive forward that revolution. And the rich world have said they will put on the table 100 billion a year as part of helping developing countries make that transition. They need to pay up. They need to put that 100 billion on the table, and we are arguing that a percentage of those funds must be allocated to ensuring access to energy for all those people, those 570 million people across Africa who don't have any energy, and including within that, of course, refugees and their very particular needs.
Well, Harriet, you're doing a good job, commendable job, and you've got to try as much as you can to keep pushing this message. Yesterday was a humanitarian energy conference, and I don't know if this is true, you're going to confirm it. Yesterday was a day where the list came out about the Ashden participant for this year, or is the list out yet? I'd like to know about that as well.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm so excited to share with you that yesterday at the Humanitarian Energy Conference, ahead of the bigger conference on energy access today, we were able to announce the 2022 International Ashden Award shortlist. So 11 organizations are on the shortlist, and I'm absolutely delighted to say that 8 of the 11 are from Africa, from your very own Kenya, from Togo, from Zimbabwe, from Malawi and Uganda. And these were in 3 different categories. One of the categories was focused on humanitarian settings. And for example, Kakuma Ventures in Kenya is one of the organizations on the shortlist for that award, with their very brilliant way of using energy to really help refugees power their businesses. We then, for another award we announced was the Energy Access Skills Award, supported by LinkedIn. And there we had 4 brilliant organizations, one of which, for example, is Zonful Energy in Zimbabwe. And they're training rural young people in the solar sector with a collaboration with colleges and with not-for-profit organizations, alongside making sure when those young people have been trained, they've got access to jobs. And they've got a brilliant app. It's like an Uber app that the young people put on their phone to help connect them to jobs after they've had the training. And then finally, we had an award which we announced the shortlist of Energizing Agriculture, which really focuses on those organizations who are using access to energy to help drive change in agriculture. And again, we had a wonderful lineup of shortlist of organizations such as, for example, Soko Fresh, I mentioned in Kenya, sustainable cold storage for smallholders, and Mandalus Energy in Uganda, who are turning agricultural waste, biomass, into electricity which they then sell on as clean cooking fuels and organic biofertilizers. So a great example of the circular economy. So I tell you, of these 11 organizations, they've been through a very rigorous process already to reach the shortlist.
Yes.
Now we will do the next stage of assessments. I think the Ashden judges, which is made up of experts and people with lived experience, including, of course, from Africa, I think they're going to have a really tough job to decide who are the 3 organizations that will win. But I'm very excited to tell you, Kemtai, we'll be announcing the winners of the 2022 Ashden International Awards in Nairobi in October. So it's a date for your diary. It'll be the first time. It's the first time we've held the Ashden Awards in Africa. So we're really excited to be doing that.
Wow, welcome. And I promise I'll be there to just, hopefully, of course, I'm guiding for my country, but all those awards that you say, those participants are coming up with really innovative ideas, and there's hope actually. It shows that there's something that is with the works, of course, so hoping you're going to beat these statistics. Thank you so much for the good luck. I wish we had more time, but of course, I'm going to reach out to you again so that you can continue this conversation. But before we finish, last minute one that probably I've been touched on.
Yes, and we'll be so happy to welcome you to the awards, which will really put the spotlight on those innovative trailblazers, these pioneers across Africa and internationally, who are really showing the way, showing how we can bring renewable energy to villages and cities and refugee camps right across Africa and beyond. And I think we can all take hope. You know, you feel from the refugee camps to rural areas, it's bursting with entrepreneurs and innovators. And what we must do is get behind them, give them the support and the finance they need so that finally everyone right across Africa can have access to renewable energy.
Yes, thank you so much, Harriet. Thank you so much for speaking to us. I'm hoping to talk to you.
It was such a pleasure.
In Kigali.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Bye.